Hello. Well, I'm going to make some comment about the last Sargon video I saw, which was supposed to be This Week in Stupid, his usual one. I always enjoy that. But it ended up as a 20-minute rant about an article published in The Guardian, about the latest scandal involving groups of Pakistani Muslim men debauching white girls, this time in Newcastle. The article was written by a Member of Parliament. She's the Member of Parliament for the constituency Newcastle-upon-Tyne Central, and her name is Chinyelu Onwurah. I've never heard of her before. A woman who, no, I can't call her a woman. I mean, she is a woman, but judging by the article, what she wrote, that is not the primary description anyone could give her. You know, when a baby is born, the doctor may say to the joyous parents, "Congratulations, it's a baby girl." But in the case of the Onwurah family, I'm quite certain that the doctor actually said, "I'm sorry to tell you, you've given birth to a dimwit, so obvious that it is recognisable even at 2 minutes old. Oh, and by the way, it's a girl." Miss Onwurah she started her article with the words, "Is rape worse than racism?" A 12-year-old boy could give her the answer to that. In fact, a 12-year-old boy did, because when my youngest son was around that age, we were discussing the subject of forced sex with violence. I think it had come up in the news, something to do with some war atrocity or other. And my son remarked, "I can understand a soldier all hyped up with battle, coming into a house full of civilians and killing them all with his machine gun. But rape? That's just rude." Anyway, Sargon then goes on to make the point that the Newcastle Muslim men responsible for this particular outrage were doing what they were doing because, as Muslims, they don't regard white women who don't cover up and who go out on their own as being of any account. They were, in effect, asking for it. Well, yes and no. It's true that Muslims are encouraged by their religion to think of non-Muslims as not entirely human. So that's an element, and some really do. But there is another element to this situation. We all know, for instance, that both in Hindu and Muslim social systems throughout the Indian subcontinent, rape is used as a weapon against women to keep them in line. Recently, there was a case in Pakistan in which a council of village elders actually instructed a man, the name of Mohammed Ashfaq, to rape a 17-year-old girl in the same village. That is, she was from the same social background as himself. This girl was the sister of a man accused of raping Ashfaq's sister. I hope that's clear. The point is that Muslim men in Pakistan rape Muslim women, and often with the consent, with the enthusiastic encouragement of their communities. This attitude that women are fair game if they're on the permitted list is therefore part of the cultural background of men of Pakistani heritage. And although most of them were born in this country, they've kept these primitive attitudes as a result of some mad ideas about multiculturalism which have afflicted these islands for the past 30 years or so. Despite their attitude to white girls, these men wouldn't have even considered committing the crimes they have done if they didn't have the cooperation of the police, who stand in for the village elders of their traditions. It's the attitudes of the police and the sort of social workers who couldn't gain employment anywhere else and get themselves jobs with municipal councils. It's them who gave these men that push into evil, which was all they needed. Sargon says the girls came from fractured families and were vulnerable. Well, again, yes and no. Some were, but some were from caring families. The only problem was that the police were standing between these criminals and their victims' parents. There was one case in Rotherham where it's recorded that the father of one of the girls went to the house where his daughter was being held, tried to get her out, and the police came round and arrested him. The whole mechanism of the state was cooperating with these people, and it isn't only white girls either. Occasionally, little bits leak out about girls from other communities. Not Muslim, of course, but one Sikh girl spoke about a Muslim man who pretended to be Sikh to gain her confidence and was trying to lure her into his orbit. He even wore the ceremonial knife all Sikh men are supposed to carry. This Sikh girl couldn't have been the only one, but because it didn't go any further, she could talk openly. Others who might have been drawn in too far would keep quiet to save the family honour. Such girls are far more likely to be spirited away back to India to be married off to some distant relative who wanted a cheap wife than to be left in the UK to the doubtful attentions of the social work systems. And the soiled girl is never heard of again. Another life ruined, but we'll never hear of it. I don't know whether the Rotherham abuse has stopped in Rotherham, but I'm sure that the police in other towns are still facilitating criminal behaviour of this type. We have every right to blame the Muslim gangs, and Sargon has every right to shout and swear about them as much as he wants. But the main focus of my blame is with people like Chi Onwurah. People like her, second-rate, half-witted, politically correct, ideologically witless politicians, social workers and the police, who could stop this before it even starts. But they don't.